Welcome back to the Alex Helton Real Estate Show. I'm Sam Dahl, obviously Alex Helton with me as usual. And today we're going to be talking about stats and info from the month of March. We've got quarter one in the books. So in just a minute, Alex will be sharing some takeaways from that. A couple quick things first though. Rob Smith, if you've got questions about mortgage rates or anything related to mortgages, he is a fantastic resource. Rates can kind of be jumping up and down all over the place, so he can give some great guidance on that if you've got questions. And then Adam Darby with State Farm. We both use Adam and have benefited from that personally on home, auto, etc. So call Adam Darby if you just want a second opinion, make sure you're not paying too much, etc. So before we jump into numbers, you were at we just finished the Masters, I guess yesterday, as we're recording this, and you got to go to Augusta.
I did.
Tell me about it. Tell us about it. Tell all of us about that.
So I'd never been before. It was my first time, and I was surprised to hear how many people, like just in conversations leading up to it, had been. So that was kind of cool. And how many people that hadn't been that said, I really want to get there sometime. So that was a fun conversation with people. Favorite part was getting to see Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and Fred Couples and Tom Kim on the 16th hole, which is a par 3, so it's short, and you have to carry water, so you got to hit it over the water to the pond. We're there for a practice round, so it's not like the tournament. They can.
So you went on Monday. Yeah. Tournament started Thursday, so you got to probably interact a little bit more or enjoy them a little more low key.
It's much more low key. It's much more loose. It's not I mean, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is known for being, the players are more loose, more sociable, and also, you know, they can chip around, putt around. They might spend 15 minutes on just putting and chipping around a green rather than like continuing to play. So, so where that came out on hole 16, when those guys, after they had teed off, they hit their shot, all of them hit the green. And then everybody starts like screaming or yelling like, skip, skip it, skip it. You'll see hats that say skip it.
Okay.
And they're talking about this 16th hole. And what they're wanting to do is for these guys to drop another ball and skip the ball across the water instead of hitting it through the air.
As a kid would skip a rock on a lake, is what you're talking about.
Exact same thing.
And then try to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Sure.
I mean, I guess that's always the goal, right?
So John Rahm in 2022, who just won the Masters in 2020, in 2020, I believe, he skipped it across the water for a hole-in-one.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
So
they intentionally hit the ball in a way that I unintentionally hit the ball.
Right, just like straight on the ground.
It's incredible. So getting to be there, watch those guys tee off, then hearing the crowd, and then all four of these guys drop balls in front of the water. Simultaneously, all four of them swung at the same time, and then everybody just roared. It was great.
That's awesome. It's fun. And you got, I think you said, like pretty close to Tiger Woods too later in the day, right?
Yeah.
Like on the putting green or something?
Yeah, he was just putting around and everybody's crowded around. So, I mean, he's within 10, 15 feet or whatever.
Wow. Second
best thing was lunch. Pimento cheese sandwich, bag of chips, box of fruit, chocolate chip cookie, and a bottle of water for $8.50. You can't beat that.
I would have expected the bottle of water to cost $8.50.
I mean.
At any other sporting event.
Yeah.
Pretty much what it is.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sounds like you would go back again if you had the opportunity.
I think I would go back again. Yeah. The operations and the smiles on the like volunteers and employees' faces, it really did feel like a Disney experience. Disney World. Disneyland can be a little disappointing.
Okay.
But
hey, you just offended a lot of people, so scratch that, take it back, bow down to Walt for a second. Okay?
Yeah. It was
a Chick-fil-A like experience.
It really was. Like, that was kind of the joke, is that all these people come from Chick-fil-A, and I can't remember where the other place was, but it was fantastic. I mean, truly a world-class experience. It's really a clinic in like business operations. It was cool.
Yeah, cool.
It was cool.
Well, fun experience, fun memories there.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the market as we stand today. Maybe start with kind of where we've been. We were looking back over the last 12 months and remembering the journey we've been on to get to where we're at today. So maybe summarize to start where we've been, what it's felt like over the last 12 months, just to frame up our conversation today.
Well, so if we look at, I'm going to stand up here. If we look at, to answer your question, we're going to pause right here when we get there and talk about where we've been. So when we look at Davidson County, transactions this March over last March are down 13%. Median price is pretty close to the same. Over in Williamson, it's also down 17%, so mid-teens, yet median price is up 7.5% over last March in Williamson County. When we look at the last 3 months, transactions are down 23%. Closings are down 23% over the same period last year. Similar number in terms of number of closings in Williamson County, about 20%. Again, median price is essentially stagnant. So we'll pause here and say, where have we been over the last 12 months? And Sam and I were talking offline how the numbers and kind of what people are experiencing, there's a little bit of a disconnect. So in our previous market update that we did, we had said that the numbers, once we get to May, June, and July, the numbers are going to show a price decrease here of about 8 to 9% or so once we hit those months. What we know is that the 1.2, when we're looking at median price for Davidson County, between March of last year and March this year, prices went up actually about 10%, and they also went down by about 10%. And so that's one of the biggest things just to call out to say, what have people experienced? When we think about last spring, interest rates started to aggressively go up. There was enough inventory on the market in February, March, April, May that for those that were sort of on the fence and interest rates started aggressively going up, they hopped into the market, bought everything up, and within a few months, prices had jumped 10%. The following 3, 4, 5, 6 months, they then came back down after prices sort of hit a little bit, not prices, interest rates hit a little bit of a ceiling, call it 7%-ish on a 30-year fixed, and the median price started going down. So that's the biggest thing to say, we're going to go over all the numbers, but want to point out that a lot has happened between these two time periods. And that's kind of where we have been over the last 12 months.
It's basically like, here's first quarter, and then there's like a mountain right here, and then we kind of descended right back into the same spot.
That's right.
Right between those two numbers.
That's right. So then when we look at, where are we now? What have the last 30 days or so looked like? We can get into that a little bit. So for new listings, we have new listings in March over February are up 10%, whether that's new construction or existing homes. Homes for sale are actually down 9% in March compared to just a month prior. And then pending contracts are up 22% in March over February. So what has happened over the last 30, 60 days or so, again, those interest rates, they drive so much of the buyer demand. And I feel like a lot of it is, and it seems to be, there seems to be this 6% psychological threshold. Where if interest rates are 6.1, it just doesn't happen. But as soon as they go to 5.9, it's like, man, it's going to be a busy weekend. So this is kind of where we've been over the last year. Prices go up 10% in a very short period of time, and then they taper back down by about the same amount. Over the last 30, 60 days or so, we've seen there's enough inventory out there. Not a lot of it's being replenished. Interest rates dip below 6%. It gets gobbled up. And then here we are again, under 500 in Davidson County. 1.3, the inventory is down. 1.3 months of inventory. And then, three months worth between 5 and $1 million. And then almost 4 months over $1 million. So that's what the last 30, 60 days have looked like. We're seeing go ahead.
I was going to say this number here, 1.3 on anybody that's buying under 500.
Yeah,
it's not a lot of options. You got to be ready to move quick.
Yeah,
that's one of my takeaways there.
Yeah.
So if that's you, you got to have a plan put together, and you got to be ready to jump when the right house shows up.
Mm-hmm. So then over in Williamson County, it's the numbers are different, but the story is similar. Interest rates in February and March-ish, interest rates dip below 6%. Not a lot of the inventory is being replaced. You have an uptick in contracts, and now homes for sale are down 3% and 9% in Davidson County. So that's kind of where we've been over the last 12 months or so. This is kind of where we've been in the last 30 days or so. Talked about inventory numbers, and then, what do things look like going forward? And really there's two things that we think about. One is values, and if you're not looking to move, values don't matter a whole lot.
They feel like they matter functionally.
Yeah.
Do they really matter? I don't know. It's an asset.
I mean, it's a little bit relative. If you're moving, it's really important. If you're not, of course, all of us like to see whatever we own increase in value.
Right.
So it matters from that standpoint. What are prices going to do over the next 12 months? That's kind of what I want to share just briefly about, because I think that's one of the most relevant things for our clients that are investors and our folks that have just an interest in potentially moving over the next year.
And on that note, specific price matters if you're moving. I think trajectory matters if you're not. I want to know, is my home generally going to be going up? Because how can you tell that it went up $2,000 this month or down $5,000? That's not actually possible to calculate unless you put it on the market.
Right.
But really what most people want to know is are things looking up or are things looking down?
Yeah.
So
one of the things that Sam and I talked about offline is that this increase, this spike in spring of last year and then the dip, it wasn't surprising to see prices reset and come down about 10%, because it was almost this artificial increase that was really abrupt, way more abrupt than any time between early 2020 and today. Mm-hmm. That was not necessarily a surprise. My opinion is, all things considered, and when we look at the market and just based on the things that we try to pay attention to, I could see anywhere for a range of, say, another 5% dip, all the way up to a 4% appreciation. It seems to me, again, all things considered, it feels honestly like we're actually a little bit more stable when it comes to prices than we've been since probably 2019. And so whether it's 5 below or 4 over, to me really comes down to just what's different now compared to 19, and that is that you have the Fed paying attention to things and messing with the interest rate. It wasn't that's just different now than it was in 19. So that's what I'm thinking about in terms of prices. Interest rates right now are about 6.5% on, call it a 30-year fixed. And
those go.
that's where we're at.
And there's a lot of almost mixed signals in the economy.
Yeah.
It's hard to predict some of these things with the economic factors, but if those rates do go down into the 5s, some of these little pieces of data would suggest that it would bring some buyers back into the market.
Yeah.
And there may or may not be listings available. So that could squeeze the inventory tighter. Mm-hmm. We won't really know until it actually happens or doesn't happen, but
Yeah.
That interest rate is a pretty big driver of movement, it seems like.
It's a huge driver. And, we have talked about how transactions are down quite a bit, and so many of our clients are relocating, some of them out of the state, some of them into the area. So it's going to be really interesting, and it's just going to take time to see is how many people that have a 3% interest rate on their home would move if the interest rate was similar. Because my bet is it's never going to touch 3, and if it touches 4 in the next 10 years, it's going to be in the very high 4s, like 4.85, 4.9. Mm-hmm. So the question is going to be just if interest rates hit 5.5, if they end up stabilizing and end up settling around 5.5 in the next 12 months, is that close enough for people to make a move? Mm-hmm. Meaning, do interest rates get low enough that it opens up inventory into the market so that the number of transactions gets higher? Mm-hmm. And we don't know if that's going to, we'll see. I don't know.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Hindsight will be 20/20. No one can perfectly predict what's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts before we wrap this one up, Alex?
That's it. As always, real estate, I firmly believe it is almost always case by case. Whether or not now is a good time is so dependent on affordability, like the person's ability to afford the real estate, what the motivating pieces are, and just timing. So if you have any questions, we'd love to chat. Reach out wherever you're seeing this.
Yep, and please share this with someone who may find it helpful, like us, follow us, etc. And one thing that seems to be consistent, no matter what the market is, having a plan is important. So if you're kind of mulling things over about a future move, we'd love to help you put together a plan, even if it's a year or 2 out. So just to help you be prepared to jump when the time comes. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.